not your only patient.
I just started
I
the
know
recording if that's okay with you. Go ahead.
that's okay. Again, I just wanted to make sure you knew that I appreciate you and that I know that I'm not your only patient, but I want you to know that you make me feel like I am. And that's very special. I appreciate that.
I'm so glad I can be of help. You
Well,
are my
thank you.
only patient.
No, that's how you make me feel, and that's remarkable. I've never had a doctor ever to give me the attention and to speak to me and explain things to me the way that you explain. It's just a pretty special feeling, and I just wanted you to know that I appreciate that that you do that for me. It's very special.
I'm so glad you're feeling better since I first saw you just a few weeks ago. We are only
I
going to
am.
keep getting you stronger and more confident in the next 6 months.
That's the plan. Yes, sir.
Hi, Kiruba. Yogi, how are you?
Good now. How are you?
For a moment, I thought that was live. You were sitting and celebrating something today morning, but I then realized it's just a picture.
Yeah,
That's a nice picture.
thanks, Na. Look forward to today's session.
Today is the last of our formal series. So we'll go ahead and get started. We have few people in already. So today's discussion is about real value and find the goals for health itself. How do we move towards that? Because I feel once we know what we are trying to accomplish, then getting there becomes that much easier. Uh, these are not the didactic type sessions, so I'm going to actually open it up to anyone who would like to share a few moments about uh, what was special in 2020, or say even it can be 2019 before the COVID started. One or two highlight moments of your life. Okay, this is something I truly remember from the last year or two that is never going to leave my memory. It is so deeply imprinted. So much fun I had, and it can be just a brief moment. It can be something others might think is not that big a deal, maybe trivial. But I'm inviting you to share a couple of moments that are so deeply cherished that happened in the recent year or two. Anybody wants to take it up? Something fun that happened to you in the last year or two?
Okay, if I can you hear me?
Sure.
Well, this summer, I live down here in Camdenton, which is in the Lake of the Ozarks, and we're on the water. And what was special to me was I had uh, my kids, a couple of my kids came down with their kids, which would be my grandkids, and my grandson, he's like well in his 20s, but he's never been fishing before. He caught his first fish, and I don't know if you ever fish or not, but when you catch your first fish, it's like it's like you playing tennis. You know, you're hooked. You know,
Oh,
you just
yeah.
have to do. And so that was very special for me. And I didn't have a chance to spend a lot of time with him when he was a little boy, or we would have been fishing. But he came here for the first time down at the lake. And like I said, even at 26, 27 years old, just to see the look on his face catching his first fish. And it was a nice fish. And so that was special. And just the fact that a couple of my daughters came down. I haven't told you, but I have six daughters and one son. And so that's, it's a quite large family. And so to have two of them bring their families all at once, it was just very special and it was a good time. So that's all
Beautiful.
I wanted.
So you narrowed it down to a particular moment this summer with your grandchild when he caught his first fish. That was amazing.
Yes.
A very similar experience I would like to share is my son when he was about 5 years, 4 years, I guess. We were traveling, visiting our family in India. So in the same street that I learned to bike, I was trying to encourage him to bike. He didn't like it in the morning. For several days we had tried and he wasn't getting it. That day, he didn't realize I wasn't holding the bike. He had already biked without me for quite a distance and then turned back and realized that he's not needing his dad's support for biking. So that
Right.
the looking at his eyes that day, it's now about 15 years, 16 years since that happened. That moment is still very fresh in my memory, very similar to
Very
the
special.
moment with your grandson when he caught his first fish.
Yes.
Excellent. Anyone else wants to share quick moments that will always remain with you? Amma, you have anything you want to share? You'll have to unmute yourself. Jagat, Anu, I'm not going to force you to say anything, but if you have any quick moment that you'd like to share that happened in the recent past, for me, I just shared something that happened 16 years ago. Everybody is still thinking. I'm not going to go further. I'm going to wait to hear one or two more from people we haven't heard speak yet. Something that you'll cherish for a long time.
So, Anand, this is Jagat. I have two girls, right? Currently, they are the elder one is 19 and the younger one is 13. But the memory that I cannot forget is the first time when I sat with them and taught them how to paint. Believe me, that outcome after the painting, it was a complete mess, which we thoroughly enjoyed, all three of us doing it together. But the outcome of the painting, they were so proud that that led them to believe that they can really start drawing and painting. And eventually now I have a room just for them to paint. So that is something that I cannot forget, introducing them and then seeing the joy of the outcome of the result. That is, memory that I still cherish.
Amazing, Jagat. Thanks for sharing that. That was from how long ago?
Oh, that was literally when they were, the elder one was fourth grade, right? And kind of that's when we started. And then now it just goes on. I introduce them with different type of painting every time. And it's the same experience, but it's nice to see. Now they're on their own. They do a lot of things and they come. In fact, the little one have her own blog that she does, and she does different type of painting and she posts in the blog where all her friends are now following. So it's been like almost 16 years back, but it happens almost every summer.
Excellent, Jagat. Anyone else? Any cherished memory? We've gone back 10, 15 years, 20 years already. Anything that really stands out? This is something that I really, truly cherish. Anyone who hasn't spoken yet?
Got one.
Yes, Lara.
My youngest daughter she's now 21, but she was I think, a freshman in high school at the time. And we were living in Colorado. At that time, I was juggling a lot of things. I was working, taking care of my mom and, doing all sorts of stuff and tired most of the time, but, you keep going. And one day I had a pretty bad day at work, but I was going. And I guess on the way home from school, her and my husband stopped and she bought me some flowers and she bought me a card. And the card has of a little girl holding up all these boulders, big rocks. And she gave me that card and the card meant so much. I still have it now. It has on the shelf in my bedroom. I will always remember that. That was a moment that she saw everything that I was going through and just wanted me to know that she, as little as she was there to support me. And she did. And she always has ever since. Just wanted to share that.
Very nice. Thanks so much, Larita. We have a very small group today. So the others who haven't spoken, why don't you just take a quick moment to share something very brief that you really cherish, hold close to your heart.
Hi, sir.
Hi, Anu.
Good evening to all. I like to share one thing which I enjoyed in my life. When I was 35 years, that is 8 years back, I want to learn cursive writing. Actually, my writing will be script writing. So I want to learn cursive writing to teach my children. I approached many institutes, small institutes. They told they'll teach only for kids, not for adults. Then at last, one institute agreed, and they taught me cursive writing. So I enjoyed learning ABCD at 35 years. Cursive writing, really, I'll go for 1 hour class per week for 8 weeks. Really, I enjoyed. So it was very nice because we used to learn alphabet in KGs, which we don't remember exactly. But I learned cursive writing that starting from A, alphabets and words, then sentence. I felt like I entered the school and I really enjoyed. And still, I'm continuing the practice of cursive writing, at least 4 lines per day. Really, still I enjoy. That is good memories. Thank you.
Excellent. Yes.
Hi, Anand. Can I have my say? Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Okay, my most cherished moment is actually with you. I did something which I did 45 years ago and stopped after that. I got onto a cycle and took that track at your place, the old abandoned railway track, all the way down for about 10, 12 kilometers. And that was the most enjoyable, most painful ride, but it was the most enjoyable moment that I had. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thanks, Chitra. Anyone else? Amma, you haven't said anything? Kiruba?
I just am wondering what to talk. All of them are telling such nice stories. Actually, one thing I would like to share with you. The very first time when I took you to the karate class.
ಇದನ್ನ ನಿಂಗ್ ಲ್ಯಾಪ್ಟಾಪ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಂತ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದ.
I'm going to request everyone to mute yourself. Amma, can you repeat that again? Give me one second. Before you repeat, let me mute everyone. So now I've muted everyone. So Amma, why don't you unmute yourself and tell us what you are going to share. Amma, you'll have to unmute yourself to talk. We might have lost her. Anyone else wants to go who hasn't spoken yet? Your cherished memories that you're not going to forget for a long, long time. A brief moment in time. Anyone? Amma, can you unmute yourself? Can someone show your hand if you can hear me? Did I mute myself also? You can hear me? Okay. So, Mom, your video has come, but your audio has not come on. Anyway, we'll give her a chance a little bit down the road. So today we wanted to, I'll go on to the, unless anyone else wants to talk, we'll go on to some slides I have. So today we wanted to talk about, this is our last discussion, which is for the advanced Heartful Living series. November 16th, our discussion is on real values and goals for health. So our disclosure is High Life Journey, which we invite you to involve anyone in your family, in your friend circles, to try and improve their self-resilience, self-awareness, and cardiac health. So in today's discussion, can you see my slide full screen? You can see my slides full screen? Yes? Okay. Very good. The real values and goals for health. How do we define health? The simplest way that we can look at health is health is the freedom to pursue one's passions. It may be physical, emotional, whatever freedom we need and the ability we need to pursue passions or to pursue life itself. So that is what is the real deepest meaning of health. So in that case, when we talk about real values and goals, we can stop worrying about health specifically. What is my blood sugar? What is my blood pressure? What is my cholesterol number today? All those are important, really important. But at a much deeper level, we have to connect on an ongoing, regular basis with life itself to improve our health. So for that, we invite you into the SMILE program, which is self-inquiry based multi-generational involvement in lifestyle enhancement. So the open invitation to include anyone in your friends, family circle with this High Life program, so that our families, our children, our grandchildren, anyone above the age of 10 can themselves view this message, these YouTube videos, and take up the challenge of working towards their own health. So we are starting from the age of 10 because we've kept this messaging pretty simple and straightforward. So anyone who is interested at the age of 10 and over, anywhere in the world, who can follow English should be able to embrace these ideas wholeheartedly. So this I've shared with you before. This is a professor here who had a heart attack. After that, he had a stent. Then he slowly took up heartful living along with cardiac rehab, and then went on way beyond any rehab potential. He went on to participate in races. He continues to physically train to get more endurance and fitness and agility. And he continues to win so many medals. Until the age of 69, he was totally sedentary, doing academic work. And he still does the academic work, but he is so much more engaged in physical challenges that he brings on to himself. So this heartful living is about whatever goals we have. If we want to lose weight as children, as adults, if we want to do well in sports, if we want to do self-inquiry towards a deeper self-understanding, or if we just want to have fun in life, whatever it is, there is something people can take away through self-understanding or self-inquiry. So this is a summary of what we've discussed. What is this diet that we talk about? The most important aspect is not to restrict, but to celebrate food with family and friends. Take 20 minutes to enjoy each meal slowly, chewing every mouthful deliberately. And it's hard to find any healthy snacks or drinks. Better to have whole home-cooked meals and fresh raw fruits, vegetables, things at home, home-cooked. And the smartest choices we have to make when we are at the grocery store. 9 out of 10 things are out there to hurt our health. Find the 1 out of 10 things that are healthy in the grocery store. And by a month of shopping again and again, you will find only the healthy things remain at home. So you don't have to trash anything, do anything dramatic. When you're at the grocery store, make healthy choices. Make sure there is plenty of fiber in the food. It is naturally present in fruits and vegetables. That's the most important thing. And the plate should be colorful, green, yellow, multigrain, rice and bread and things like that. Remember, the simplest cue that the body gives us is hunger, and choose to eat only if you're truly, genuinely hungry. Otherwise, we don't need food in the body. Appreciate the food with gratitude. That connects that link, and that gratitude, you'll be surprised, will make you stop eating when the body needs to stop. It will not push you beyond that limit. So this is the challenge we opened to our cardiology colleagues. Can we as doctors, at no cost, in zero time and effortlessly, at patient's own home, relieve heart pain, uh, reduce bypasses and stents, heal the atherosclerosis plaque that's in the heart, control blood pressure, diabetes, cholesterol, cut back 9 out of 10 medicines, actually stop and maybe even reverse the aging process. Not only our patients, can we make our patients' families and friends healthy at the same time. So all this is the potential of self-inquiry. All these lectures are available at High Life. The hunger gratitude experience, I would say, in 2020 is the core of self-inquiry, because it is so simple yet so profound. At every level, we can practice it. So it involves intermittent fasting, calorie restriction, and being grateful. So these are the three components, and it helps with combating stress, depression, anxiety, improves compliance with anything else we set ourselves towards. So that is what is the real values and goals. So that goal may be to walk 30 minutes, to get 10,000 steps. It may be to give up cigarettes. It may be to give up alcohol, maybe to give up unnecessary sleep medicines or pain medicines, or whatever we want to improve. And most importantly, it may give us so much more depth and meaning in relationships. So at the end of few months of this heartful living, so many patients come back and tell me, Doc, I really like the same job that I've been doing for 30 years. Doc, I'm in a much better relationship with my wife of 22 years. So this is the type of experience that might open up for you through self-inquiry. So this is a concept that is, I would say, pretty intuitive to Japan, because this word ikigai means the reason to wake up. Every Japanese that wakes up knows this word. So why do we wake up? If you look at it at a very deep level, it comes down to four things. At work, we should be good at what we are doing. We should enjoy what we are doing. The world should find it useful, whatever endeavor that we are doing. That way we will get paid for it. So if these four things are met, then we have much more high likelihood of connecting with that ikigai. That means we'll wake up excited to go to doing whatever work we are doing. So this applies when we are in school, when we are at work, when we are retired, at any age, at any point in our life. We can still be good at what we are doing, enjoy it. The world can find it useful, and we may be hopefully getting paid for it. Or if we are truly retired, we may do it voluntarily. That's fine too. So this is what is Ikigai, connecting with meaning. Myself being a physician, all these things automatically, luckily, are connected, because we have to train for 15, 20 years to be a cardiologist. So we tend to be pretty good at what we are doing. And I truly love connecting with my patients. And the world needs doctors, and I get paid for it. So all these things connect. So I'm fortunate to say I am a doctor with Ikigai. I wake up hoping to come and meet my patients. Like that, it doesn't have to be a profession you train 10 years, 20 years. You can find Ikigai in doing routine household chores. So that is how we open ourselves to our daily experience. It can be doing dishes, cleaning our kitchen floor, whatever it is, we can find that meaning in life. So that is what the real invitation is. So for that, we've discussed going outside the comfort zone, thinking outside the box. So finding Ikigai while doing our dishes, while mowing our lawn. So that is where the challenge is. So we have to step outside our comfort zone. For that, I invite you to use your body. How do you use your body? That means we cannot sit and do it. We'll have to walk, work, bike, do something physical where we are not able to maintain a casual conversation where we are breathing hard, we are starting to perspire. Like that, we'll have to slowly gain that trust with the body that it can be pushed every day for about 30 minutes. So once we move outside the comfort zone, we engage the body, then we engage the logical mind, and then we overcome that logical mind. So a lot of things, I would say most of us, 99.9% of the time, we stay within the logical realm. It may be just because we were trained to be like that from the age of 10, 15. But by the age of 20, 25, when we take up serious professions, some careers, we have to stick within the logical realm. Otherwise, people will look at us and say, this guy is crazy. We don't want that. But this heartful living actually invites you to step outside that logical mind. Let me give a simple example. Fasting as a way of heartful living, we've formally done only 2 to 3 years. So what did we do in 2010, 2015? We asked cardiac patients after a bypass surgery, few months of cardiac rehab, in a summer day, if it was drizzling outside, to not take an umbrella or anything, just go and get yourself wet in the nature. Rain is not that bad a deal. Only if it is a thunder and lightning, we have to be a little careful. So that is what we invite people to experience. I have patients who came back the next week and said, Doc, this was so fun, just deliberately going out in the rain. So that is the sort of going beyond the logic. You find safe ways to doing it. Yesterday, my uncle called me from India and said he went out in the rain and he loved it. So I thought, okay, this is, he's in his 60s. So I didn't do it until 2013 because till then I was running away from the rain so that I can do something more productive with my time. But one day when I decided to enjoy it, then I invited my patients to do it. So it need not be something we discuss here. You find something that is outside your logical mind that gives you more fun that particular moment. Then you go past your instinct, your faith, your belief, even that you can go past. Then you will finally arrive at the source of your being. So that is where life itself starts. Okay, now let's get into that very, very core of life. So what do we really mean by this heartful living, living at the source? So this is, I would think, the one slide that I want you to remember from today's discussion. So we said we want to experience life that is beyond our logic, beyond our emotions, and beyond even our feelings. So experience stands outside all these things. Right now, none of us are experiencing rain because we are all indoors in front of our computers or smartphones listening to Anand. But once you have a chance, you can go and experience a drizzle or the snowfall or even the sun. As it touches your skin, you can experience that. That is beyond any word. So it can be as simple as that. Today, when I asked, what do you remember? The first memory was teaching grandson to catch the fish. For me, the memory was teaching my son to bike. Then there was a doctor from India who said she's learning cursive writing in her 30s. So every time what I'm finding is the experience is what we are remembering, but that experience seems to be in some way connected with new learning, either for ourselves or for someone who is dear to us. So learning, I would say, comes right up there as far as experiencing life is. So we have to open ourselves to new experiences and new learnings. The next thing is simply finding opportunities to sacrifice our time, our effort, our money, or our emotion. It can be a small amount, it could be $1 or $2. But if we can give freely of ourselves, ideal most way of sacrificing is without the person who receives it even knowing this is the source of it. If you can give a little bit of your time without the recipient even being able to thank you, that I think is the purest way of sacrificing. So take 2 minutes out of your day, take $1 or $2 out of today and do it in a way that the person who receives it does not even recognize that you are the one giving it to them. The third thing that is directly at the core of high life is connecting with your energy. That is that word ikigai. And realizing after you use some of that energy, it can be physical, it can be emotional, you will turn back and say, I used this much of my energy and I actually have exact same amount or even more in reserve. So that is the beauty of life. It is not like petrol or gas that you fill in your car. As you drive through 200 miles, the tank goes to half, and you go to 400 miles, the tank is empty. Whereas this life energy is infinite. The more you use, you will find you have more of it. And then remember again and again, whatever self-inquiry you do, we'll have to start every day with gratitude. Because this journey we cannot accumulate. We'll have to again and again, every day, start fresh. So that gratitude, if you have it at the core for something. Today we discussed so many things about people's cherished memories. So that obviously is a source of deep gratitude. It need not be that profound. It can be very simple things, whatever it is. When you connect every morning with gratitude, that will get you out of the bed with more energy than yesterday. That is what I'm inviting you to do. So this is, I would say, the summary of Heartful Living. And in various ways and forms, so many of our heart patients in their 60s, 70s, 80s, despite their health issues, they connected with this, I would say, concept and experienced it as their reality. And that is what is keeping them 10 times more healthy after so many years. So that is the gist that I wanted to share with you. So these I've shared with you earlier. So if you look at this time frame, this is, I would say, the longest time frame. About 15 years, this patient has continued to lose so much weight, and even now wants to lose even more weight. The reason is, at the age of 65, 70, this patient was unhealthy because of excess weight. So losing weight at that age is not easy, but it is possible to sustain it over significant length of time while we gain more energy, more confidence, and more trust in ourselves. This is another patient with all the organs having issues, and this story she has shared in her own words. I don't know if it's going to play. Despite all the organs. What do you feel grateful about?
That I wake up every morning.
Excellent. You started out saying that you're an optimistic person.
I've always been optimistic and always figured I had at least the glass half full.
Now, how do you look at your life?
That my glass is always full and overflowing.
So that overflowing comes from her own experience. So I invite people to perceive it, but whether we do it today or whether we do it in a few weeks, it is up to us to persist in that inner journey. This is another patient, very similar story. All these type of graphs we see after a gastric bypass surgery. When they tie off 80% of the stomach, we cannot put food in the body, we feel sick. So those are the people who can lose this much weight within a few months to a year. But in our program, we've had patients who succeeded in losing and sustaining that weight loss for several years while feeling that much more healthy and giving up medicines and not needing more bypass surgeries and stents and things like that. So there are numerous patients with very, very similar stories. So we don't want to go into too much more details. So this is what it is. The word Homo sapiens, human beings, itself means we are wise. That means we are more aware than every other life form on earth. So that itself is our freedom. That itself is the invitation to celebrate life. So we've been around for 300,000 years. That's what we now believe. So this knowledge that human beings have been on this earth for 300,000 years, we did not have 100 or 200 years ago. This we now only know based on so much archaeological evidence. This has been around in our part of India, southern India, Tamil Nadu, Siddha Yoga for close to 10,000 years. Yoga, the postures and everything else that we practice is one of the aspects of Siddha medicine. And then we've been teaching how to smile, why to smile, what are the health benefits of it now for 10 years. Heartful Living we've been doing as a formal clinic now for 5 years. And now in 2020, we have the website with all these lectures, including today's. If you go to www.highlifejourney.org, you can access all these things for free. So this is the summary of it. 14 hours overnight fasting, finding 30 minutes where you challenge your body, either with physical exercise, upper extremity exercise if you are disabled, weight training, yoga, whichever exercise that involves the body. And then 1 or 2 minutes of talking aloud to yourself, and then sitting in silence for about 5 to 10 minutes. And the last aspect is today's discussion, altruism. That means taking 1, 2, maybe a maximum of 5 minutes out of your time, very small monetary support, your emotion, your energy, something that you go and do deliberately to make someone else's life a little better. This COVID world, it's challenging. To try and doing this without the recipient even knowing who did it is even more challenging. But the invitation is for you to try and do something, a small gesture of kindness every day. So this, I feel, is the centerpiece. Once you start connecting with that, the energy that it gives you, the other things that you're trying to accomplish, like fasting, exercise, and meditation, all that becomes so much more easier. Despite your challenges and circumstances and COVID distancing, if you can find some way to make someone else smile, that is what the invitation is. So this is again a patient who turned vegan and was doing really well. But before he turned vegan, he went on a 50-day fast where he drank only water for 54 days actually. And this is what it is. In the last few days, he needed to be in the hospital to finish his fasting. He refused anything except just electrolytes. He did not want any calories even through the vein. But he felt, when we asked him whether your cup is half full or half empty, the energy he had was insane. The last few days of that fast, he totally felt that life itself was totally full and overflowing, despite himself being a heart patient and not even able to get out of the bed. So that is the magic of our consciousness. So I invite you to explore your inner journey. The more you do it through whatever method you choose and pursue it for the next few months, you will connect with more energy and be able to live life more holistically. So this is 2021 through Lifelong Learning Center at MU. We are doing this in January and February. They've given us 2 hours, again on Mondays, 9 to 11 a.m. These details, we haven't yet created the Zoom link and stuff. So if you come back around the holidays, the dates are finalized, the topics are finalized. So you're most welcome to join us in January. You can share this with anyone in your family and friend circles as well. So I'll conclude here so we can have some more time to discuss and go from there. We still have 10 to 15 minutes for anyone who wishes to share. Ideally, anyone who, oh, Sarvi is here. We've been inviting him for a while. I don't know when he joined. He's my school day buddy. And I invited him 2 weeks ago because at that time, why don't we ask him to talk? You heard enough from me. Why don't you unmute yourself and introduce yourself, Sarvi, to our group?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Hey, my name is Sarvi Saravanan. I've known Anand since he was, and I think we went to kindergarten school together. So I'm an engineer working in the Bay Area in Silicon Valley. Anand and me have been talking about fasting for many years, actually. And so when he asked me to come and talk, I just thought I'll just give you my 2 cents about it. The very first time I tried fasting was a 1-week fast of only water about 10 years ago, I think. And I did it as an experiment because I was, I grew up reading Amar Chitrakatha comics, and I was like, wait, how come all these guys really didn't eat into their, was it even possible to do it? So it was more out of a curiosity. That was the very first time I did it. But one thing I realized was food consumed so much of my life in terms of preparing for it, thinking for it, cooking for it, and everything that comes after that. And that 1 week that I didn't eat, suddenly I just realized I had so much more time in my hands and I didn't know what to do with it. The second thing I realized was, you would think that, when you are fasting without food or water, and only on water, you would think you would be completely lethargic and bedridden. And, at least that was the assumption I was going through. One thing I realized was, no, that's not the case. I was absolutely normal. I was walking around. I went to work. I still climbed the same 2 floors of stairs that I usually do as part of my daily routine. The only thing I couldn't do was maybe run 5 miles back then. But apart from that, on a daily basis, I could do pretty much everything. So that's where it started. And over time, I've kind of refined my fast a little bit. I kind of use the Navaratri as an excuse. I'm not religious, but I just use that as a time window because it reminds me that it's coming and I can do it. So I use the 9-day fast. And the one adjustment I've done is, I've read that just not eating without replenishing your salts may be deleterious to your health. So I've started including a glass of a squeeze of lemon and some salt and some baking soda into my daily fast routine. That's the only thing I've done. Apart from that, I fast for 9 days, and on my 10th day, I start slowly to get out of my fast. That's what I do. Now, Anand wanted me to talk about what was difficult and what was good. The difficult part, I will tell you, is that the first 2 to 3 days can be a tough time, because your body, I think, goes through some, withdrawal symptoms or whatever. A headache around the 2nd day evening or the 3rd day was sort of normal for me. It's just a mild headache. It's not a terrible one, and you should be fine. At least I've been okay with it. Your hunger pangs will probably subside after the 2nd day, probably the mid 3rd day. After that, I don't think I felt hungry at all. But for the first day or 2, you will feel hungry, I guess. But by the 3rd day, I was fine. And then the rest of the 6 days is just a regular routine. I have a 3-year-old Om, and the last couple of years I've had my routine with him, taking him around, and I'm still able to do all of that stuff. Different people have different ways of managing diets. I find portion control a little bit more difficult. I mean, I'm a foodie, so which means that when there's good food, I want to feast on it. So I find it a little bit more easier to do in I think what Anand calls it as feast and fast, which is, take Mondays off and not eat anything on the whole day on Monday. And then the rest of the week, I can feast. So I guess different people can do it different ways. I just find this a little bit more easier to do, that I can take 1 day off for my entire system, and the rest of the days I don't have to restrict my diet as much. And that has worked so far for me.
How do you feel in your mind when you are the 4th day, 5th day, 6th day? Do you feel like you're a little more relaxed, or stressless, or meditative? Does it have any mental changes at all when you're fasting?
So a couple of things I notice is, one, I need less sleep during those times. I usually find myself that I end up going to bed around 11 or 12, and I end up waking up, 5:30, 5 o'clock. I'm usually off. So I find that I need less sleep during those times. The second thing I need, I do is, I'm an engineer. I write code and I do stuff. I find myself more focused, would be probably the word I would use. Yeah, those are the 2 things. Occasionally, I mean, I should warn you guys that, when I have a 3-year-old, like I said, and suddenly when I have to need a burst of energy to run after him, that noticed that when I suddenly get up very fast or something, I'll have a moment of, dizziness. It's not exactly dizziness. I'll just have to kind of stop myself, I guess. So the bursts of energy are not available, but otherwise it's all mostly positive. Yeah.
Excellent, Sarvi. Thanks for sharing your experience. Good luck continuing this once a week every year. And see, this is our cardiology's #1 journal, Journal of American College of Cardiology. This I shared with you. This is an article in the most recent thing, which looks at food in one colorful picture. What it is saying is there are some foods that are inflammatory: red meat, processed meat, organ meat, refined sugars like donuts, cookies, and sweetened beverages, all the soda that we drink. And the things that reduce inflammation in the body ends up being green leafy vegetables, dark yellow vegetables, whole grain, all the fruits, tea, a little bit of coffee, and maybe a little bit of wine. So that is what it comes down to. Can we reduce inflammation, or are we going to add stress to the system and risk of atherosclerosis cumulatively over weeks, over months, over years? And especially for our heart patients, by changing our diet, we may be able to reduce inflammation and cholesterol numbers and everything. And more than all these red and green diets, I feel two things. One is intermittent fasting, which is 14 hours most days of the week, and up to 24 hours the 7th day if you can. And the second concept is calorie restriction for cardiac patients. When they cut back about 20-30% across the board, and find that they can be more comfortable with hunger using gratitude. That way, we can get the benefit of fasting and calorie restriction both at the same time. And that is, I believe, the core of how we very quickly turn around heart patients from needing stents and bypasses. But again, I cannot do it as a pill. I can give the education, give the encouragement, show the stories of other patients who really changed their way of life and who now feel 15 years, 20 years younger, so that it will inspire you to pursue that journey. That's why I'm so glad, Sarvi. I've never fasted more than 36 hours till today. Whereas my school day friend, Saravanan, he has done this for 10 years, for about a week every year. Continuously, he goes with only water for a whole week. And he doesn't have health issues he's trying to overcome. He just does it because he enjoys it. So I'm so glad he was able to share his experience with us. It just gives us more things to think about, how we can take more ownership for our health, and most importantly, for our celebration of life itself. Open it up for any other suggestions, quick questions, and then we can wind up for today.
Yeah, Anand, you're aware I do my Mondays and Thursdays fasting. But after listening to Sarvi, do you think it makes sense to do 48 hours continuous instead of?
No. Up to 24 to 36 hours, we get the full benefit of it, medically. Beyond that, what he is doing is, I would say, not necessary for your health. If you want to try for a week, I'm not going to stand against it. But same thing with exercise. There are people, I have cardiac patients who want to do ultra marathons. And I tell them very clearly, if you run for 2 hours, 6 hours, it is not, don't expect that to make you live 100 years, 120 years. No. See, the body is meant for certain levels of, I would say, sweet spot of getting ideal health. So the sweet spot for fasting, you will probably reach, but at about 24 to 36 hours. Beyond that is not needed. But it is possible for healthy people to go even longer and continue to do it for 10 years. He has no real reason for it. He just does it. So that's why I wanted to come and talk. See, he goes outside logic itself. So we cannot bring him within our logical discussion. That's what we invite people to do, to go outside your logic. If you go stand out in the rain, how is it going to help your heart? It's going to connect you with your life itself. Like that, he is doing this. So in that realm, it is fine. For heart, for evidence, we have every other day people who are on the obese side who want to lose weight and protect their heart. Every other day, calorie restriction has been studied in a small number of people, and it is useful. So if you're able to go with calorie restriction or zero food for 24 hours, 2 times a week, that is definitely going to help.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. He mentioned when he comes out of the fast, what type of foods do you eat, or do you start with just fruit, berries, or what type of food do you eat when you start to come out of your fast?
Was a question for me?
Yeah,
Yes.
because for up to 24-hour fast, we don't need to do any particular outcome. I mean, we don't have to break the fast with any particular way. For me, when I fast 24 hours, I just start with a banana. That's where my mind naturally goes, and I take a banana. After that, I can slowly start eating anything. But Sarvi, he goes for 7 days, so he's going to tell us what he does.
So I do two things. One, during my fast, I start with, I just drink water with a squeeze of lemon juice because I need to replenish my electrolytes without adding calories. And I add some salt. And in the last couple of years, I've added a quarter teaspoon of baking soda because the lemon ends up being acidic. So I want to balance it out. I didn't want to add acidity to my stomach. So this is what I drink twice a day during the 9 days of fast. And then on my 10th day, when I want to break my fast, I felt over the last 8-9 years of my experience, I find that my stomach biomes are kind of died, I need to reset it. So I start with something that is very good in the stomach biome area, right? Probiotics. Yogurt, kefir yogurt, or things like that, buttermilk. So I start with that, and I step into fruits, and basically later in the day I would do like a soup, just a watery soup. So my 10th day is mostly these kind of things without too much of solids. Apples, bananas, fruits would be the kind of solids I eat. And then by the 11th day, it's regular food, right? I'll eat my idli or dosa or whatever it is that I eat.
Thank you.
See, the healthiest options come first when you break the fast. That is, the body is requiring that naturally. Very nice. Amma, do you want to share anything? Earlier, we started with what is the most precious memory or a cherished moment that we will hold in our heart. The reason I asked that question, I'm going to answer now, is because this fasting or self-inquiry, all this is a lot of effort. The effort comes close to zero if you connect with gratitude. You will find that inner energy out of life itself once you connect with something that you are truly, genuinely grateful for. That is the reason I asked what memory comes to you. Sarvi, do you want to say anything about any particular memory like that? Anybody else who wants to share that type of quick memory? That, wow, this is something I will not forget all my life. I think Sarvi joined us late. Amma, do you want to share anything? Anyone else wants to unmute yourself? I don't want to be hearing myself the whole time. So if nobody wants to talk, why don't you spend 1 minute being grateful? And then if you have questions, I'm still here another few minutes, but 1 minute, why don't we just sit in silence, connecting with that gratitude? That is that beyond the logic, beyond the emotion, beyond the belief, because that is a direct experience, just like rainwater falling on us, or the sunlight touching our skin. Experience is deeper than everything else. So let's remember that experience, that moment, or this moment, today's moment. Just sit down for a minute, connecting with gratitude for something in our hearts. Any other last remarks before we close? I thoroughly enjoyed. Hope you all liked this session.
So this is the last session until the January.
Correct. January
session that you
25th. Yes.
Okay. And you'll send us an email?
For that, yes, I will. But
Okay.
High Life Journey also, you'll find the link to it. But I'm hoping to send an email like I sent today to our current participants. Once we have the Zoom location and all that, I'll send it.
Okay. And on the email you sent this morning, it said if you haven't registered, that we can go to that link. The registering, it does what? Other than it gives us access to the information, or
The access is
Explain
to High Life Journey. If you'll have to register at highlifejourney.org. So that is the website where we have all the links to all these sessions from June,
Oh.
July, October, November, the Paul Pepper short brief interviews. All of this is in that location.
Okay, because I want to go during this time. I want to be able to go back and look at some of the
The real
information that-
series occurred in June and July. So that is the one I would like you to look at, the Real Heartful Living formal series.
that's-
This one is just like an informal follow-up for people who already started practicing.
Okay.
So June and July,
Thank
I'd definitely like you to spend 7 hours. Each is 1 hour long. And every 3 or 4 days, you can go through one session in June and July. So that will be the real holistic picture of what we are trying to show
Okay.
to this book.
So those are the ones that you sent to Willie and that we've
As an
been
email.
looking
That's
at.
all as YouTube link. I might have sent it to you also. I'll send it again also to you.
Okay. Well, thank you. And that's one thing that I am grateful for. I'm grateful for this connection and the information that you're sharing that has literally changed our lives. And I appreciate that.
I'm so
Thank you.
glad it's working for you. Thanks, friends. Have a wonderful holiday season. Take care. I'll connect with you back soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you, Adam. Good night.